70,000 people. 70,000 people. That's how many lives one man saved. The same man. Your history books called a bloodthirsty pirate. One eye, a red beard, a wooden leg, a skull and crossbones flag. Hollywood built this image over 100 years and sold it to the entire world. But historians have confirmed something cinema never mentioned. This man never stole a single thing in his life. So who was the real Barbarossa? And why has the truth been buried for over 500 years? Every Hollywood pirate story traces back, directly or indirectly, to one name: Barbarossa. The name alone was enough to make European sailors abandon their ships and swim for shore. But here's the thing about legends. They are always written by the people who fear you, never by the people who know you. The people who actually knew Barbarossa, they never called him a pirate. They called him Father. Our story starts not with a sword, but with clay. On a small island in the Aegean Sea, a humble potter had two sons. No armies, no title, no inheritance, just a small wooden boat, modest cargo, and a sea that forgave no one. Their names were Aruj and Khairuddin. And the Mediterranean in the early 1500s was the most dangerous stretch of water on Earth. On one ordinary trading voyage, everything changed. Their ship was intercepted by a hostile naval force, trained to hunt, not to trade. One of his brothers was killed in the fight. Aruj was captured, chained to the oars of an enemy galley as a slave. For nearly 3 years, he endured the whip, the freezing spray, the burning sun. But there was one thing they could never chain: his mind. Then, during a violent storm, while every guard focused on the waves, Aruj broke free. He threw himself into black water with no shore in sight. And he swam. He survived. But the man who walked out of that sea was not the same man who had gone in as a slave. He came out with one single, burning purpose. No one else suffers the way I did. No one. While Aruj was rebuilding his fleet across the sea, a catastrophe was quietly unfolding in Spain. Tens of thousands of people, families who had lived in their homes for generations, were given a brutal ultimatum: convert or leave. Children, grandparents, newborns, all driven to the coast with nothing but the clothes on their backs. No ships, no food, no way forward, no way back. They stood at the edge of the world, and the world was about to swallow them whole. When Aruj received word of what was happening, he did not see a political conflict. He saw human beings standing at the edge of extinction, and he made a decision in that exact moment that would define everything that came after. He turned every single warship in his fleet into a rescue vessel. Night after night, slipping past Spanish coastal patrols in total darkness, his ships moved silently into hidden coves and loaded whoever they could carry. No one was left behind if Aruj could help it. Historical estimates put the number of people rescued at over 70,000 souls. 70,000 lives. those people did not call him a pirate. They called him Baba Aruj, Father Aruj. And the name that European tongues couldn't quite pronounce slowly became Barbarossa. Spain was not going to let this go unanswered. In the siege of Bougie, a Spanish cannonball tore through the battlefield and took Aruj's arm completely off his body. Any other commander would have walked away from war forever. Aruj sent for a blacksmith. What came back was not a simple replacement. It was an arm, crafted entirely from silver, engraved, fitted with a custom sword grip, built for battle. When he returned to his men, silver gleaming in the sunlight, sword in hand, the battlefield fell silent. He became known across 2 continents as the man with the silver arm, a commander who looked like he had walked straight out of legend. But the silver arm carried a message far more powerful than its appearance. You cannot stop me. Spain understood that message, and they came for him with everything they had. At the siege of Tlemcen, a trusted local ally secretly betrayed Aruj's exact position to the enemy. He was surrounded, completely, on all sides. He fought, one arm, one sword, alone against hundreds, until his very last breath. When he fell, the Spanish took his head and paraded it through the capital cities of Europe. Church bells rang in celebration across the continent. The man who had saved 70,000 people was gone. Khairuddin received the news of his brother's death in silence. Then he stood up and got to work. He inherited Aruj's red beard, his fleet, and his unfinished mission. But Khairuddin understood something his enemies had missed. One man cannot protect an entire people alone. He made a bold strategic alliance with the most powerful empire on earth at that moment. The Sultan recognized his genius immediately and gave him command of the entire Ottoman fleet. Khairuddin was no longer a captain of a few ships. He was the Grand Admiral of the greatest navy the world had ever assembled. He rebuilt the shipyards. He designed faster vessels. He invented naval formations no admiral had ever attempted. And all across Europe, the panic began. Pope Paul III issued an emergency call to all of Christian Europe. This man must be stopped at any cost. What assembled in response was the largest naval coalition ever formed in the history of the Mediterranean. Over 300 warships, 60,000 soldiers, commanded by the legendary Italian Admiral Andrea Doria, the greatest naval name Europe had ever produced. Against them, 120 Ottoman ships, outnumbered, outgunned, and, by every military calculation of the time, completely outmatched. Doria expected a massacre. He was right. Just not in the direction he imagined. September 28, 1538. The waters off Preveza, Greece. Khairuddin studied the wind patterns. He studied Doria's formations. And, most importantly, he studied Doria's pride. Then he made a decision that looked, from the outside, like cowardice. He retreated. Doria's massive galleon surged forward. confident, unstoppable, chasing what they believed was a fleeing enemy, deeper and deeper, into waters Khairuddin knew better than the lines on his own hands. Then, without warning, the wind died completely. Doria's enormous warship sat frozen in the water, unable to move, unable to maneuver, unable to aim with any accuracy. 300 warships turned into sitting targets, and Khairuddin struck. His smaller, faster, oar-powered ships closed in from every direction at once. Fast, precise, and absolutely merciless. Within hours, the greatest Christian armada in Mediterranean history was in flames. Andrea Doria fled under the cover of darkness, abandoning his burning fleet, his surviving soldiers, and what remained of his reputation. The Battle of Preveza handed Khairuddin Barbarossa unchallenged control of the Mediterranean Sea for the next 300 years. He lived the rest of his days in Constantinople, honored, celebrated, deeply respected. He died peacefully in his own bed. No gallows, no pirate's death, no dramatic last stand. Just a man who had completed everything he set out to do. So the next time someone mentions the name Barbarossa, remember this. That name was never meant to be a warning. It was a thank you, given freely by 70,000 human beings to two sons of a simple potter who decided that their lives were worth saving. History forgot them. The Mediterranean didn't. And now, neither will you.